Welcome back to the channel. This is our third and final episode of our coffee grinder restoration. You see we got all of our cast iron primered. So by the end of this video, we'll have the finished product and we'll grind up some beans and make a little coffee. So remember in the second video, I taped off this area before I primered so it doesn't peel the paint or primer off as it's spinning around. I also taped off the inside of this. That way we're not drinking paint chips. So we're going to guide coat this and then wet sand and then we'll get it painted. I'm using black guide coat. Got this on Amazon. It's like 14 bucks. Don't use spray paint. It's worth the 14 bucks. This, especially if you're doing small things, this can will last you forever. But using spray paint, it just clogs up your paper, leaves more scratches than you're really taking out, and so it's worth it to pick up some guide coat. And you just need a real light coat. That's all you need. We're going to wet sand this with 600 grit. I'm actually going to use Limeline 600 grit sanding sponges just because this is there's no real flat areas here, so using a sanding block is kind of a waste of time, and this will do a good job getting down in the grooves. So I'll go ahead and guide coat the rest of this and get it wet sanded. Okay, we've got everything wet sanded and hung up in the paint booth. So for this job, we're gonna go with the House of Color Snow White Pearl. I don't know how well this is gonna show up on the video, but it's got a ton of pearl in it. And because of that, our undercoat color will matter. If I spray that over the gray primer, it's going to look pretty silvery. So we're going to go over a pure white base coat. We'll do maybe a coat and a half of pure white, and then a couple coats of the pearl white. You can kind of see the difference. You can see how transparent that pearl is. So giving it a nice bright undercoat will really make it pop. Okay, the base coats are finished. It's been about 45 minutes now. I want to paint these letters. Don't really know exactly what I'm going to do yet. I don't have a plan, so see what happens. I forgot to mention when I was mixing up the paint for the base coat, and I'll use the same gun for the clear coat. I used a 0.8 detail gun rather than the 1.3 that I used to spray the primer. Just gives you a lot flatter surface, especially on something this small. So we'll get the paintbrush out and see what I can do, and we'll be back. Okay, everything's clear coated and nice and dry now. I moved it out of the paint booth and into the main shop just so the heater can blow on it. Make sure they dry a little bit faster, but it turned out nice and clean. I think I've got like 2 little specks of dust. That won't be a problem. So next we're going to take care of our handle. I'll stick it in the lathe, get it cleaned up, get some of these marks smoothed out of there. And then the shaft for the handle, we had to grind a little bit off of it in order to pound it out of there. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit, and then I'm going to countersink this end. That way when we reinstall it, it'll mushroom over really easy. And you can see our little pile here is getting smaller and smaller, so we're getting close. I am going to cheat a little bit. This one was broken when we tore it down, and so I borrowed one off of one of my other ones. Eventually I am going to have to fix this one, but for now we'll clean that one up and polish up the rest of these parts and get them ready to nickel plate. So we'll see how this takes a stain now. It looks better already. So I just happened to be looking at my other grinder. This one's the same one, number 3. But what I noticed was in behind the crank, there's a spacer. And it's missing on the one that we're restoring, so we'll head back out to the shop and we'll have to make one. So I dug around in my scrap box and actually got lucky. Found an old cut off to something, but it's just a little bit bigger diameter, but it's got the exact same size hole in it already. So we'll stick this in the lathe and make it look like this. Okay, so originally I talked about bluing all the hardware and then I was going to nickel plate it. Nickel plating didn't work out. I gotta get a different power supply to make that happen, and I really just wanted to get this done. So we're going to go back to plan A and we'll blue all this stuff. We're just going to use heat and dunk it in oil. It's just a regular motor oil. Get that nice blue. If you go too long, it'll turn black. Alright, we're ready to put it back together. Got all the holes cleaned out. And I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. And in here. Just to lubricate that shaft. I don't want to put regular oil in there. And I'm just going to wipe a little bit on the inside here to help keep it from rusting. Jar on there before I tighten it down. It's kind of a tight fit. Facing the right way. So when I blued all the hardware, obviously I couldn't blue the brass spacer. I am eventually going to come back to this and nickel plate everything. But for now, we'll have a brass spacer. So I got to get this handle put back together. Okay, we got our handle back on. Kind of see where I countersunk that. It mushroomed over really easily. So it's not going to come off, and it still rotates in there. And there it is. So we'll go hang it on the wall and grind up some beans. Okay, here we are at the coffee station. There's the other two grinders. Give her a twist. And there it is. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed these videos and maybe got something out of watching them. And if so, like and subscribe. If you subscribe to the channel, then you'll get notifications on our next project. And let's go out to the shop right now and take a peek at it. And here it is. Got a 1901 GE Pancake. I tore it down a couple years ago and I just never got back around to working on it, so it needs a lot of work. Obviously I'm gonna have to make a new ring for the cage. Somebody put a fancy gold spray paint job on it, and we're gonna have to rewind the stator. So that'll be the next video series coming up. Thanks for watching.